We are back. First show in who knows how long. I'm back, as everyone can see with my tan. I'm Reed Wallach. Alongside me is Ben Heisler. It's Daily Betslip. It's Tuesday, August 16th. Loaded show for my first day back. We got a hilarious bad beat from the always hilarious Los Angeles Angels. Got MLB best bets on a Tuesday, and then we're breaking down the WNBA playoffs. I don't know very much, and Ben Heisler has been capping the WNBA this entire summer. He's going to give us a crash course on everything WNBA postseason. And then we got our game of the night, AL Cy Young showdown between Justin Verlander and the Astros and Dylan Cease of the White Sox. Ben, what's up, man? Welcome me back, please.
Welcome back, the tans and bronzed Reed Wallach. It's good to see you, man. Glad that you had a great trip on the other side of the world. Jealous of all those different adventures that you and your girlfriend's family were on. But great to have you back, especially that we're close to college football. We got plenty of baseball going on. Your New York Mets just called up their top prospect. So I feel like you came back at a very ideal time.
Yeah, I was making the joke as I was away because obviously I was 7 hours ahead and then 6 hours ahead. So I would go to sleep and the Mets game would be either not even started yet. It would be on. And then I'd wake up to the wins and they went 10-2 while I was on the other side of the country. So I was saying, I'm kind of afraid to come back. I'm kind of like, am I going to ruin the mojo? Like, do I need to just stay on listen, I'll stay on vacation all the time in the world. Don't get me wrong, but I am back though. Like you said, great time of the year, college football, Mets pennant push show. A lot of good things, so I'm happy to be back. And I'm also, this tan is going to go away very soon as I lock myself in, watch some football for the next, how long, like 6 months now. So this is like the end right here. This is like the peak of my tan.
All right, fair enough. We'll enjoy it for as long as you can. The pictures still prove it. That there was one time in my life where I spent a summer in Israel for about 6 weeks, and there was proof to the rest of the world that even with all the sunburns that I got early on, I can still tan. It just took my body a bunch of times over and over, just getting beat up over and over again. So there is proof that it can happen to even people like me.
Yeah, well, enough about our tans. Let's talk about someone who got burned last night, and that was anyone who had the under in the Angels-Mariners game last night. So total is 6.5, and we can't pull up the video, but I'll try my best to describe what happened. But Ohtani versus Castillo on the mound last night, 2-2 back and forth. You had the total 6.5. You're just hoping this game kind of ends, maybe avoid extras, just get out of this like a 3-2, 4-2 final. Well, so the Angels, or the Mariners rather, had first and third, one out. Julio Rodriguez hits a screamer to second base. Second baseman can't field the ball. Throw home. Look to get the runner out at home, but the pitcher who's backing up the catcher slips. So the pickle gets out of whack. Mariners score. Scott Haggerty scores. So it's 3-2 Mariners. All hell breaks loose. The Angels end up losing 6-2. Of course, goes over the 6.5. And I mean, as if it couldn't get worse for the Angels. I think like the joke is kind of over on the Angels. Like we all know they're bad. We know Ohtani's great. We know they're a joke of an organization, but at least like get the bettors paid, man. Like you did all this hard work. Like get them paid.
I'm with you. And there's been so many times this year where when Shohei Ohtani is on the mound, those have been the only games that the Angels have won. And they've been favorites in those games. So you almost feel like, all right, this is like a reliable option. As long as they get Shohei a couple of runs, then they're probably going to be okay. But sure enough, more opportunities for the Angels to just let their bettors and their fans down simultaneously. I mean, it's a terrific pitching matchup. Like Castillo and Ohtani did their part. It was just the rest of the Angels. Like they still need like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Danny Glover, just get the whole movie back together. Everyone just has to start flapping their collective Angels wings because they need something, especially if they want Shohei Ohtani to stick around, because with him and Trout not having any postseason wins together, it's going to be a long handful of summers if they end up losing one, if not both of them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, brutal beat, but okay, we did our tans. We did someone who got burned. Let's get some people paid now. Let's talk some best bets for tonight. Okay. We reached out to the community, tried to get some winners on the board. We got some interesting responses. The three we're going to show, three completely different bets here. So we got kind of a pick of the litter here if you want. So let's bring up that first one. I believe we got a home run prop. Yeah, from friend of the program, Lil Nepotis, of course, Yo-Yo Ma's cousin. Going O'Neal Cruz plus 450 to hit a homer. Some are calling it a reputation bet. Lil Nepotis putting the rep on the line on O'Neal Cruz. Obviously promising rookie for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Plus 450 to go yard against the Boston Red Sox at home. Ben, any thoughts here on Cruz? He's not hitting the ball consistently, but I mean, the power's there.
Power's always there with Cruz, and especially against Nick Pivetta, who's had like 3 different seasons all rolled into like 100+ games. So at one point in the middle of the season, Nick Pivetta was pitching like an all-star, like several games with like 2 runs or less and over a fairly consistent stretch. Remember, he got off to a terrible start to begin the year. And in the last several games, he's back to the pitcher that's given up a ton of base hits, a lot of hard contact, trying to find his latest home runs per 9. It's not good. So yeah, O'Neal Cruz in a ballpark that he feels fairly comfortable in over in Boston. Should be good hitting weather, I believe, in Pittsburgh tonight. Or excuse me, it is. The game is in Pittsburgh tonight.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't mind O'Neal Cruz, especially against a fly ball heavy pitcher like Pivetta.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's hitting at the Mendoza line. He's hitting 200, so it's not that you may not get multiple hits. You might not get multiple cracks at some hard hit balls, but I mean, 7 homers against righties, slightly better. I mean, again, he's not hitting great, but 206 as opposed to 200, 191 against lefties. He's hitting 200 against righties. Like I said, 7 homers come against right-handed pitchers. Listen, if Yo-Yo Ma's cousin's going to put his rep on the line, I mean, we got to see what happens. So I'll be tuning in to the Pirates game to see if O'Neal Cruz could crack one, the rookie for the Pirates. Let's get over to our next best bet here. I think we're looking at PGA this weekend. Yeah. Trent Krim, not to be confused with the independent journalist, going Colin Morikawa, 20-1 at the BMW Championship this weekend. Pretty in-depth handicap here. Tight landing areas at 300 with bunkers will force guys to hit less than driver off the tee, and it will turn to an iron contest from 135 to 175 yards. Give me the best ball striker who should have won last week at a discount. So, like the insight there, thinking that this is going to be who's going to be able to throw more darts, give himself a chance to putt in for birdie. Ben, are you capping the BMW? I have not. I know you are typically a Will Zalatoris believer, so I hope you got paid this time. I mean, everyone's like back to even now after he burned them so many times.
I know, right? I was not on Will Zalatoris last weekend. I know that Ian and Joe Summers have done an awesome job in providing our PGA coverage over the last several weeks. I've kind of taken a little bit of a breather post majors on the PGA, maybe jump back into the BMW this week. But Morikawa, if you're going to back a great iron player, it obviously makes sense. Looking at his numbers over the last 24 rounds, that's usually the number that I like to look at when I'm trying to figure out if there's a play that I like. Morikawa with his irons has been really good. 11th in the field in strokes gained approach. The problem, once again, continues to be short game for him. Last 24 rounds, he ranked 68th in short game, 65th in strokes gains putting. So if you buy in on Morikawa, considering, like you said, that he had a shot last week, then certainly it's a good value at 20-1. But I like to see Morikawa gain a little bit of confidence with his putter moving on to a round. I just don't know if it's quite there yet.
Yeah, no, listen. Morikawa, it feels like he could come out any week and win 20-1. I could see it. I don't see why not, especially with that handicap from Trent Krim. Really provide some insight into that. I'm not the biggest golf bettor, even though I did hit 2 majors this year. So, I like the ball striking idea. I like that guys aren't going to be able to get off the tee as well. So it's going to be about who's going to be able to throw darts. And I mean, listen, when Colin Morikawa was on from that 135 range, I mean, he could pour him right in. So don't hate the play. And we have one more play. I think it's fading. Yeah. At Jared Applebaum chimes in. Raise money line against these struggling Yankees. Ben, I know you have a few notes on the Yankees' recent struggles. Of course, I saw a note heading into Sunday Night Baseball that they had, of all the AL playoff contending teams, they have the worst record since the beginning of July. Team is slowed up considerably after being on a historic pace. Aaron Judge is still cracking home runs, but it's really just been him. Giancarlo Stanton's hurt. DJ LeMahieu's now hurt. Aaron Hicks has lost in the outfield. And the offense hasn't scored in now 2+ games. So Do you think the Yankees get off the schneid here? It's Nestor Cortez versus Beeks for the Rays. So Rays are sitting in that plus 160 range, I believe.
Yeah, I won't try to give too much away with regards to the Yankees, but it's them and teams like the Padres and the Marlins that are just having all sorts of issues hitting right now. It's hard for me to really get on board. And yeah, it's back in hitter-friendly Yankee Stadium, but until I start to see the offense make some sizable turnarounds, it's hard for me to jump on board. So I'll tell you why in just a little bit why there's a certain side on the Rays side that I'm backing, but hard for me to get on board with New York right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see a point in jumping in front of the Yankees right now, given their struggles. I just think maybe not bet the Rays, but just like steer clear, like maybe wait this out. Listen, the Yankees are still a good team. I thought that they were playing over their heads for a while. And it seems like they're starting to come back to earth a little bit. It's okay. It's cool to be the second best team in New York every once in a while. But, I don't think that
now you're playing with fire a little bit. Now you're just starting to throw some Mets darts just in the direction of Yankees fans, and they're going to come after you once the win streak starts to eventually come back on. I mean, we had a conversation in our little inside baseball as to whether or not it's time to stick a fork in the Yankees earlier on today, but I think you're trying to just run with it. I know Ian McMillan loves whenever there's Yankees frustration, he just soaks it all in. I guess as a Mets fan, it probably works the same way.
Yeah, and I won't say that. Listen, the Yankees are still going to win the division. The Blue Jays have not been able to make any sort of inroads in on the Yankees, but I still think that I've been saying the entire time, I think there's a sizable gap between them and the Astros, and it's just starting to prove itself. The Astros now, I believe, 2.5 games up on the Yankees. So, listen, maybe the Rays hand them another loss here. Maybe the Yankees offense struggles to score again, but I'm not rushing to bet the Rays at this number. Nestor Cortez has actually been pitching really well after kind of teetering off. He's kind of found his form. So, not rushing to bet against the Yankees yet again here. But great stuff in the community. Great picks. Really kind of a smorgasbord of all different bets there. So now let's get into our best bets. Ben, I know you're all over the place with your bets. You have an MLB prop, an MLB pick, and then you're looking ahead to tomorrow for WNBA playoffs game 1. Full betting breakdown the WNBA playoffs coming up at around like 5:25-ish. But I'll get us started here. I have 3 MLB plays. I'm going to go with the Padres money line, minus 148. Coming off a shutout last night against Sandy Alcantara. This is a different scenario, though. Going against Edward Cabrera, limited sample size in the big leagues, pitching to a 2.05 ERA right now, but his FIP up in the high threes, nearly double his ERA. And the Padres, 6th on base percentage since the beginning of August, right around the time they got Juan Soto. This offense is too good to be kept down 2 straight games against the Marlins. And the Marlins offense hasn't scored more than 3 runs in, I believe it's 16 games now in a row.
Yep. I just wrote about it. Just published it over at BetSided today.
I can't trust this Marlins team to knock around Sean Manaea, who I will say has struggled since the All-Star break. As an ERA north of 8, so you're thinking, Reed, what are you doing? You're walking right into a trap. But again, he's faced quality competition, and the Marlins offense can't hit lefties. So they can't hit anyone, and specifically they can't hit lefties. 210 against southpaws this season, the worst batting average in the big leagues this season. I think that even if Cabrera is going to keep shoving and pitching above his head, I just think the Padres are going to be able to scoot out a little bit in front and take advantage. So I think Manaea gets off to a strong start and kind of works himself into playoff form. And give me the Padres money line, minus 148. I think that this is a discount after last night's shutout.
See, we were having such a nice show. We were having a really fun back and forth. Wanted to try and welcome you back with open arms from your trip across the pond. And yet here we go. You're coming in with your first pick of the night, and it's completely against my play, which is on the Miami Marlins as a home dog at plus 132 against San Diego. Okay, you just mentioned Sean Manaea has an ERA of 8. That doesn't concern you. It certainly concerns me. You mentioned Cabrera's got some issues and maybe some regression is coming. The ERA is very good at 2.05, but the FIP of 3.84 is a bit concerning, but it's still a good number. And he's also striking out more than 27% of hitters. His ground ball rate is just under 56%. So factor that in against the Padres team that is, and this is pretty remarkable considering the hitters on this team since the start of August. I mean, we're talking about the Marlins' inability to score runs. The Padres are in a same level that I think people need to be concerned about. They have the 4th worst batting average in baseball, 0.187. the third worst weighted on base average, or WOBA, at 0.236. And Cabrera is the pitcher that I trust far more than Sean Manaea right now. So why not take the home dog, who, yes, has had issues getting past 3 runs, but then again, they've gotten some wins along the way as well. Padres can break out at any time, but I also think the Marlins can as well. And the pitching matchup actually sets them up better, in my opinion, than what the Padres are going to have to face against Cabrera tonight.
All right, a little mono action. I mean, the best way to welcome me back would, fill in my wallet. That would be the best. That'd be the best gift you could give me to welcome me back. You know what?
To be fair, Reed, I need to give credit where credit is due, because we were on opposite sides of our MLB props in our roundtable yesterday with Freddie Peralta. I was going and rolling the dice a little bit against the LA Dodgers, and sure enough, you took that one under 5.5 hit. He finished, I believe, with 4. So kudos to you. You have the one up over the last day or so. Hopefully, I can even it up today.
Yeah, but that one didn't make YouTube though. I wanted I wanted people to see me say it and see you say, this counts for a little bit more though. There's my face is on this one, not my fingers. So
fair enough.
So we'll see. Listen, it was a solid handicap. I agree, but I think that as a lefty pitcher with Manaea and the Marlins struggles against southpaws, I think the Padres are being a little undervalued, and I'll trust their offense with that talent to kind of bust out. I mean, this team has had explosions since getting Soto, so we'll see if that could come tonight. But we're gonna stay with another NL West team, an NL West showdown actually. Arizona Diamondbacks, San Francisco Giants. I feel like I've been betting on Merrill Kelly all year, and people are just like, oh, it's gonna come back to earth. He's kind of not pitching to an elite level all year long. That's not gonna keep up. Well, we're still here. It's the middle of August, and he's still pitching to a sub-3 ERA. And he has absolutely shut down the Giants this year. 3 starts against him, pitched 21 1/3 innings, only 4 earned runs. The Diamondbacks are 2-1 in those starts. So I like Kelly to keep it going against the Giants. He's had their number all year. And you look at the offense, and first of all, the Diamondbacks have been frisky all year. They're playing much better than you would expect for a team at the bottom of the NL West, the most competitive division in baseball, arguably. The Giants and Diamondbacks both above average offenses in August. The Giants are 9th in weighted runs created plus. The Diamondbacks are 11th, so I'll call that a wash. The real edge is with Kelly on the mound against Jacob Junis. ERA north of 6 since the All-Star break across 4 starts. Hasn't been able to pitch more than 5 innings in those 4 starts, so you're going to put a lot of pressure on a Giants bullpen that is bottom 5 in ERA. Give me the Diamondbacks as a small underdog. I can't get there. I don't see enough edges for the Giants offense over this Diamondbacks offense that has been playing pretty well. I know that Diamondbacks under 500, but I think they get the win, and Kelly improves to 3-1 against the Giants this season.
All right, so now you're speaking my language a little bit, because if you actually look at the slate tonight, obviously, we'll get to the game of the night between Justin Verlander and Dylan Cease, but the number 3 pitcher on the board, in fact, the number 1 pitcher in the National League in wins above replacement, it's Merrill Kelly. Ahead of Nestor Cortez, ahead of Alek Manoah, ahead of Brandon Woodruff. This is a dude that's a 3-win pitcher this year who's been very, very solid, even though the strikeouts really haven't been there this year. But he's done a great job of pitching to contact, really good job of keeping the ball down. His home runs per 9 is barely over half per 9 innings. So this is somebody that I think goes into San Francisco that's been a pitcher-friendly park throughout most of the season and should dominate against the Giants lineup that's very hit or miss. So I don't mind this play one bit.
Yeah, and then give me your MLB prop. I know you kind of teased it with the Rays-Yankees game.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit earlier. I think the number for Jeffrey Springs on his strikeouts tonight, the starter for the Tampa Bay Rays, is just too low. Yankees are striking out the 10th most in baseball so far in the month of August. We talked about how if you were to bet $100 on the Yankees or against the Yankees in every game so far, you'd be up 10-1 since the start of the month. Springs also has a really good line on strikeouts, has a rate of nearly 27%. He's passed this line in his last 3 games. And what's pretty remarkable is that I think odds makers, or whatever their projections have it at, they put it at 4.5 just because of the ballpark that he's playing in, New York's offense consistently over the course of the year, and their domination at home. But other than 1 start since May 21st, Jeffrey Springs has gone over 4.5 strikeouts in every single one of them. And that's only averaging a little more than 5 innings pitched per start. At some point, Reed, the Yankees lineup is going to wake up and they're going to start looking dangerous again. But right now, that's not the time. And Springs has done a terrific job of bringing in plenty of strikeouts despite limited innings. The 4.5, it doesn't concern me because even though he's only averaging a little more than 5 innings per start, he's still getting past this number consistently in every game. And right now, the Yankees are a team that I want to bet against as opposed to bet on. I think Springs ends up setting himself up very nicely tonight.
Yeah, no, I can't hate it. I mean, the Yankees, the line is just not there right now. This is a low mark to clear. I'm a little nervous about maybe the Rays pulling Springs, working more of the bullpen in. That's how Kevin Cash usually manages those games. But listen, the Yankees look lost to the plate right now. The lineup just isn't there. This is not a full lineup whatsoever. Josh Donaldson batting behind Aaron Judge is kind of a recipe for disaster. I haven't seen the lineup, but that's what it's been for the past few games, especially since Giancarlo Stanton's been out for the last few weeks. So, can't hate the play. Last MLB play for me, keeping it simple, taking 2 favorites that I think are very likely to win. First up, Twins, Royals. Twins are about a -210 favorite. Sonny Gray has been absolutely fantastic this season. Definitely a play-on pitcher for me. 2.18 ERA in his last 4 starts. And that's coming against the likes of the San Diego Padres, who have a lot of talent, the Toronto Blue Jays, who have a lot of talent, and the Los Angeles Dodgers. So he's pitching unbelievable against quality competition. Now he gets the Royals, who are hitting very well, but they're starting Zach Greinke, who cannot play on the road. He has an ERA north of 7 on the road. I can't trust this Royals team to win. So give me the Twins with the pitching advantage. And then I'm also going with the Cubs. Patrick Corbin has been the worst pitcher in baseball this season. This guy can't stay away from batted balls. He has allowed the most hits in baseball this year, 161. Steele for the Cubs has actually been solid as a lefty. 3.63 ERA, but supported with a 3.28 FIP. So I like Steele. He's been pitching well all season. I think the Cubs, who, again, they're not very good, but the Nationals are a joke of a roster right now. They sold Soto and Bell, of course. So they have their worst pitcher on the mound. They have a AAA lineup. Give me the Cubs. Plus 140. I like it.
Yeah, hard to argue there, especially with your pick of going up against Patrick Corbin. It's pretty crazy. When they first signed him, I was thinking, okay, here's a left-hander.
He's great. Nastiest curveball.
He had a great curveball. I remember some of those really strong years with Arizona. I mean, our producer and director, Joanne, knows Corbin from her time with the Diamondbacks. This was a guy that had very good stuff that I thought would project well long-term, pitching from the left side. He wasn't a particularly hard thrower. It's remarkable, Reed, to see just how bad he's ultimately gotten. And now, yes, it's a guaranteed auto fade whenever he goes up. And the thing is, they keep him out there because they need him to pitch as many innings as they can because the rest of the team is garbage.
Yeah, no, I like this one again, plus money. I do this a lot, betting 2 favorites I like, but I'm not, again, it's a baseball game. Anyone could lose. So I'd rather save myself some money. So I think 2 favorites that are likely to win. So I'll take them, get a plus money payout, and, trust the pitching advantages to bring us home. And then I guess this will segue into our WNBA preview, but give me your WNBA best bet for game 1. And then
for sure,
we'll come back for a few minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I know that we still got all of our best bets all together to be able to share with the group for anybody that's just joining us. But looking over the slate ahead of Wednesday and Thursday, there's 2 games on Wednesday night, 2 games on Thursday. The first game of the night is Tuesday night in Chicago between the Sky and the New York Liberty. Sky are 8-point favorites against the Liberty. They've gone 3-1 against them straight up this year, but only 1-2-1 against the spread. But where Chicago has the massive advantage here is in the first quarter of play. The Sky have one of the best offensive ratings in the WNBA in the first quarter. For most of the year, actually led the WNBA in offensive rating in the first quarter and overall net rating. And New York, for whatever reason, is just a terrible first quarter team. They eventually start to get it going. Sabrina Ionescu continues to have a terrific season. She's played well against Chicago over the course of the season, but they just get off to slow starts. And especially now that the playoffs are here, Chicago had a franchise record 26 wins. The fact that they only have to cover 2 points in the first quarter where they've been so dominant and New York has been so bad, I think this is the play early on. Go ahead and get it out of the way. Get Chicago -2 in the first quarter against New York, the 7th seed, in what is going to kick off the start of the WNBA postseason.
Yeah, rip it off like a Band-Aid. And great segue into our WNBA playoffs preview. But before that, let's get our best bets graphic up, recap you on what we got going on tonight, Tuesday, August 16th. So for me, I'm on the Padres money line minus 148, the Diamondbacks plus 110 against the Giants, and a little Twins money line, Cubs money line parlay that pays out plus 140. And then Ben, he's going against me, taking the Marlins plus 132 against the Padres.
Right.
He's going Jeffrey Springs over 4.5 strikeouts. And tomorrow in game 1 of the WNBA playoffs, he's taking the Sky first quarter -2 against the Liberty.
That's right.
And there,
that's right. Ready to get that whole WNBA playoff started. And yeah, you're right. What a good opportunity for you and me both to have a little bit of a conversation. Get your WNBA fix in, Rhea. I know this is something you've been waiting for over the course of the entire summer, but we might as well win some money now. It's never too late to get your WNBA picks in.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, let's talk some WNBA playoffs. It's basketball. I watch. I just don't cover as much. You have been capping it all summer long, so you have a leg up on me. But listen, I don't bet it like I just said, so why don't you fill me in? I'm going to sit back. I'm going to read off the odds right now, and then I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you spin. Maybe I'll chime in and give a little or oh, okay, cool. But I'm going to let you. I'm going to give you the floor here. You let me do my college football. I'll let you do WNBA. So let me preface here with the odds I got. From Consensus Sportsbooks, we got the Aces plus 175 to win the WNBA title. The Sky are Sky plus 230, Sun plus 380, Stormer 6-1, Mystics plus 1100, Wings plus 5500, the Liberty plus 6500, and the Phoenix Mercury round us out at 130-1. Series prices. Or do you want to do title picture first and then go to series prices?
No, go ahead and do the series prices, because I think once we go through these power rankings together, it'll give a better sense as all these teams likely go through their different matchups.
Yeah, so looking at the series prices, we got the Storm facing the Mystics. The Storm are minus 170 favorites. Mystics coming back at plus 138. The Sun minus 800 against the Wings, who are plus 520. The Sky are plus 430, and the Liberty, Reed's New York Liberty, are plus 320. And the Aces are minus 4,000 against the Mercury, who I guess are just going to get shot to Saturn. They're going to get beat so bad, who are plus 1,200 to upset the WNBA title favorites. So they're our first round favorites. So Ben, I know you did a great article over on BetSided. You guys should check it out in full, power ranking these teams and where you see some value in the WNBA playoffs. So there you go. I gave you the runway. Take off.
All right, perfect. I'll go ahead and hopefully we got an easy landing the rest of the way. So let's go ahead and get these teams out of the way that really don't have any sort of shot. I know that there's 8 teams. You might think to yourself, all right, well, there's 8 teams. They should have as good of a shot to try and at least pull off a couple upsets. Phoenix, go ahead and dismiss them right away. There's still a possibility that their 2 best players may not even play. Diana Taurasi's been dealing with a quad injury. Skylar Diggins-Smith has missed the last few games for personal reasons. They've just dealt with a lot this year, especially trying to figure out what's happening with Brittany Griner, their former teammate. This is a team that had title aspirations, but they basically backed into the postseason, don't really deserve to be there. You can go ahead and dismiss them. They're 130-1 to win. Liberties are interesting. So they started off 1-7. They're 80-1 to win the title. I just think the problem is their matchup. Chicago's played them really well all season. They don't have much depth other than Sabrina Ionescu, who's been awesome. Natasha Howard had a big clutch shot against Atlanta to send New York to the playoffs. But there's just not enough firepower. And I'll get to why the Sky are easily moving on. But just not enough for them, even though they went 15-13 over their final 28 games after a terrible start to the year. And then I actually would have liked Dallas as a possible upset pick. They're 55-1, but they're not going to have Arike Ogunbowale, who's their best player, in their matchup against Connecticut. They've actually played the Sun very well this year, have a winning record against them. It's just not enough, Reed. Like when you're missing your best player and you're on the road and it's only a best of 3 series, you're going to struggle. And Connecticut, to their credit, have been the best net rated team over the course of the entire season. So just not enough from Dallas, even though it would have traditionally been a favorable matchup. So first 3 out of the way, I think you can understand even as much as I do that they just really don't have much of a chance, and odds makers are agreeing with that.
And quick question. So it's best of 3 in the first round. All games on the road? Or like the lower seeded teams on the road for all 3 games, I should say.
No. So the way it works is that
They go
games 1 and 2 in the first round, it's 2-1, where the home team gets the first 2 games, and then if a road team steals one of those games on the road, then they get an opportunity to host
That's
game 3
wild.
in their
That is
building.
wild.
Yeah. Isn't that
What?
cool? Yeah.
What?
I
That is
love it.
wild.
Yeah, I think it's
That's
a great
crazy.
setup, and it's a substantial change from previous seasons where you had the first 2 teams get a first round bye, and then it was a single elimination up until the actual NBA Finals. So
That's
they're
crazy.
putting much more of an emphasis on trying to back the home team and also incorporating more of a home court advantage in the process as well. So
Okay.
exciting format the rest of the way. All right, let's get to the final 5. Washington's a really interesting team. They're 11-1 to win. They had the best defensive rating in the WNBA all season. Elena Delle Donne is still one of the best players in the league. They have a lot of veteran leadership on this team, but Reed, they just don't score the basketball enough, and they've been hurt and trying to deal with injuries all throughout the course of the season. And to be honest, their matchup in the first round, even though they've played all right against Seattle, got a win against them over the course of the regular season, Seattle's just too good for Washington to be able to keep up. I know that these games are going to be close because of how good Washington has been defensively, but Seattle was also a really, really talented defensive team. They finished top 3 in the WNBA in defensive rating. And what's remarkable about Seattle is that they kind of changed their entire system of play over the final 2 weeks of the season and ramped up their offense to the point where they were pushing pace. They were not doing that over the course of the beginning of the season. They actually finished, we talk about how good the Aces are. Seattle in the last 2 weeks of the season finished with the best offensive rating in the WNBA, ahead of even the Aces. So the fact that Seattle can beat you on offense as well as stay with Washington defensively just gives them the edge in this series, and I like them to move on. They're not my number 4 team, though, even though they're number 4 in the seeds.
Okay.
I'll get to why Seattle
is
even higher there. At number 4, they're the 3 seed, but number 4 in my power rankings, and that's Connecticut. Connecticut finished with the best overall ranking, but maybe about a month and a half or so ago, we talked about it here on Daily Betslip that they were kind of just bum slayers. They were just beating up on all the terrible teams, and when it came time to actually go and face some of the best in the league, they just weren't able to get it done. Against the top 2 teams in the WNBA this year, Connecticut was just 1-6, and they went 24-5 against everybody else. Now you might say, well, they
right for an upset?
Yeah. Right. They're only playing. They're playing Dallas. It's not really an issue there. That's true. But again, Dallas was also one of those teams that played them well this year. I just don't feel like, even though the numbers set up well for Connecticut, that they're actually as good as the numbers indicate. Like, plenty of teams that you watch that say, well, the numbers back this team to be really good. But then when it comes to seeing the eye test and the actual results, win-loss results against better teams, like, I just don't see enough variance moving in the direction of Connecticut, even if the numbers say that it should.
Yeah, no, great point.
Okay.
I love that.
Number 3, Seattle Storm, for a lot of the reasons I just mentioned. Think about the star power on this team. Sue Bird in her final WNBA season, averaging 6 assists per game. Breanna Stewart led the WNBA over in win shares by more than 1 win share over the second best player in Asia Wilson of the Las Vegas Aces, who's also an MVP candidate. They have Jewel Lloyd, who's putting up 16 points a game. Tina Charles, who's an NBA All-Star, got her after she was released out of her contract from Phoenix. Like, they're just so talented all across the court from a star power level. Like, they're kind of like your Brooklyn Nets. Like, there's just stars all over the place, and they can beat you in a wide variety of ways, that even though they're the number 4 seed, and it should be a tough matchup against Washington, they're a team that I think is set up very, very well for the postseason because of the experience on their team, because they're versatile, and because they're very good both offensively and defensively. Now we get to the top 2. Everyone's been going back and forth. Is it the Aces? Is it the Chicago Sky? Who's the actual best team in the league? Both these 2 teams finished with the best record in the league. They were tied, but the Aces ended up getting the number 1 seed because they beat Chicago in their second to last game of the year. However, they are not my number 1 team. The Chicago Sky are my number 1 team in the power rankings. The Aces are number 2. Chicago has been the most consistent team throughout the course of the season. They are so versatile with all their different weapons. You have Candace Parker inside. You have somebody in Courtney Vandersloot that can make shots from the outside. And they also just set up well in games that they won against the Aces over the course of the year. They're top 3 in both offensive and defensive rating. And then the Aces, I just feel like they're a little too one-dimensional for me to put them at the top of my power rank. Because yes, really, really good offensive team. Number 1 offensive rated team over the course of the entire season. But sometimes, Reed, their defense just completely disappears. And if they're not making shots, even though they have the ability with some really good shot makers on the team, defensively, they can be a bit of a liability. And the other reason that this lends them to be my number 2 team is I have Seattle upsetting Las Vegas in the second round because I think Seattle can do what Las Vegas can do offensively. And I know that they can do what Las Vegas can't do defensively. So when that number 1 and number 4 seed matches up, I give the edge to Seattle as a pretty sizable underdog. And I ultimately see the NBA Finals going between the Chicago Sky and the Seattle Storm when it finally comes down to it, because I just think the Storm have enough talent to stay with Las Vegas. And the defensive issues for Las Vegas, I think, are going to turn their head in the postseason.
Yeah, I'm literally writing that down now in a post-it and keeping it at Bet Storm versus Aces series price. Telling you, I'm in. I love it. I mean, listen, I've listened to you, Peter Donovan, tell me about this Aces team and how many points they scored. They dig themselves a bunch of holes too. They go down double digits, they storm back, no pun intended. But maybe that's the end right here, and the Storm buck them, and then so you still think that the Sky they end up pulling it out though?
There's just too much consistency from the Sky all season long. They won the championship last year, and this is still a team that set a franchise record and wins this year. They're better. They're more experienced. They have positional versatility. They can switch. Like normally we talk about like the NBA as sort of like this positionless league, but that's kind of how the Sky play. Like Parker can take shots outside, but she's also a forward and a center. You have Musselman who can be able to go inside. Vandersloot's a terrific shooter. And I can't forget. I'm all of a sudden I'm like blinking out on her name. It's like their second leading scorer whose name just completely escapes me right now, and it's really good. Clea Copper. Kind of has a little bit of DeMar DeRozan to her game, in which she's not a great outside shooter, but she can beat almost anybody on the dribble, get to her spot on the court, and sink that mid-range shot. So if they can beat you outside, if they can beat you defensively, if they can beat you on the wing, and also in the mid-range game, I think Chicago is just set up very, very well to be able to win their second straight championship.
All right, back to back. But all I know is I'm betting the Storm versus the Aces. Write it down. It's going right next to right on my desk there as I get ready to bet it. But yeah, so we'll see if we get there. So you're telling me that the Mercury will not upset the Aces in the first round, though? You're telling me that's not
the only way that the Mercury would upset the Aces is if all of a sudden the Aces decide that they don't want to play anymore and they're making some sort of statement and they just want to let Phoenix win it. There's no way in history that this type of upset would. I shouldn't say history. Crazier upsets have happened before. The Mercury are not. I'd be surprised if they win a game. Being perfectly honest here, they're not
in Las Vegas.
No, they're not going back home to Phoenix.
Well, they're going home, but they're not bringing their suitcases back. They're just going home and they're ending their
season.
Getting ready for vacation.
They're just not hosting a game.
Yeah, well, awesome stuff on the WNBA playoffs. Crash course. Ben, the Storm against the Aces. Sky are probably going to win the championship, but Ben is going to be having a ton of game previews. He's going to have everything covered over on BetSided, so make sure you're checking that out starting tomorrow with Game 1. If you missed this and Ben is going to have his quick pick video. For winners and dark horse, he's going to have video up, so bunch of stuff coming up WNBA playoff-wise. So don't miss that. And if you want a Game 1 pick, you're just tuning in, go back to our best bets. Ben had one there. Now let's talk some game of the night. Back to baseball. The Astros, White Sox, we teased at the beginning. Battle of the two Cy Young favorites in the American League. Ben, I know you have a take about Dylan Cease to the White Sox, but I'll set the table here. White Sox trying to make a playoff push. They're 2 games behind the Guardians in the AL Central. Had a crazy come-from-behind victory over the Astros last night to open this series. Erased a 2-0 deficit, went on to win 4-2. Now they get Justin Verlander, though, who is pitching off the top of John like he hasn't missed a beat here. I'm not going to say the Cy Young race is over by any means, but he has been pitching very well. I think he's in for some regression down the stretch. His numbers kind of indicate that. We'll see if that comes tonight. The White Sox have been a maddening team all year long. One step forward, two steps back. After one step forward last night, are the White Sox taking another one tonight, Ben?
If I had to put a bet on this game, I still don't know if I trust the White Sox because of all their issues that they've had, because they still kick the baseball around in the field, because their bullpen has been amongst the worst after it was supposed to be a strength of their team. So if I had to just choose a side on this game, I would still probably take the Astros on the money line. But the play that I like the most, Reed, is if I'm going to go ahead and make a wager on this game, give me the first 5 under, 3.5. Okay. It's a lot of juice for a first 5 under at -125. But these are the two best pitchers in the American League that set up exceptionally well. Dylan Cease has a strikeout rate of over 13 per 9 innings. Verlander has an ERA of 1.5 on the road this year, and he's already been terrific at home. Like, everything for this matchup sets up for this to be like a 1-0 game after 6 innings when both of these pitchers are likely out, because Cease is one of those guys that is usually around 6 innings. Verlander has gone above 6 innings in 8 consecutive games. Cease has done it in 5. These pitchers are going to go deep, and even though Houston has more firepower offensively than Chicago, I just trust these pitchers, and I don't want anything to do when Chicago's bullpen comes into the game. So give me the first 5 under 3.5 at -125. There's still some books that have it at 3.5. Others have moved this down to 3. I think that's a reasonable number for 2 elite pitchers going up against each other tonight.
And Ben, you still think Dylan Cease is going to be able to pull away from Verlander and win the Cy Young over Verlander? I don't have the odds right in front of me, but Cease is still an underdog in this market. He has been really just cutting it down start by start here. So before I give you my bet, what is the path for Dylan Cease to win the Cy Young? Because he's gonna have to not just outperform Justin Verlander, but he's gonna have to really exceed Verlander down the stretch here. Does a big outing tonight count? What if it's a wash tonight where they both show up, where they both suck, whatever it is? Like, don't just make the case, because I know the numbers there, but tell me the path of how Cease outlasts Verlander for Cy Young.
Okay, well, I think part of the path also lies in with the historical context. And this is something that I wrote about over at BetSided a handful of days ago. So there's only been 3 pitchers since 1997 who have put together these type of numbers with 160 plus strikeouts, an ERA less than 2, and after 22 starts. Felix Hernandez, Pedro Martinez, Roger Clemens, and now Dylan Cease. And 2 of them went on to win the AL Cy Young in their respective years. And Felix lost his by about 10 points to Corey Kluber, but actually had better overall metrics when it came to the equation. As for Cease, and why I think the path forward actually sets up better for him, is that the White Sox are going to need him to go deeper in more games to carry Chicago versus Houston. So Dylan Cease, the White Sox are 17-6 in games that he starts. And when I wrote this article, they were just 39-50 when anybody else starts for them. Mm-hmm. As for Verlander, this was back on August 11th. The Astros are 16-5 when he takes the bump, but they're also 21 games above 500 when it's anybody else on the mound. So Cease, from an actual value perspective, Reed, has been far more valuable to his team than Verlander. Factor in the standings, where Houston has a monstrous lead in the AL West. Yes, they're going to be going for the number 1 seed against the New York Yankees, but they might start to pull away. And I think it's also important for Houston to rest up Verlander for the postseason. Whereas the White Sox, they can't afford to put Dylan Cease and rest him because they haven't gotten out of their own way all season long. You still have Cleveland right now at the top of the division. Minnesota has scuffled, but Chicago is not by any means in a great position to make the postseason. Fangraphs has their odds at around 24.8. They need Dylan Cease as much as possible down the stretch of the season, and he's been elite over the course of the last several weeks and several months, that he has a chance to really pass Verlander because of the fact that they just need him more than the Astros need Verlander right now.
Yeah, no, great points on Dylan Cease. All that being said, I'm on the Astros money line, -130. I I had Houston last night, got burned. We're talking about tans and burns. Got burned last night. I thought the Astros were the right side there. I'm going back to the well. Dylan Cease in 3 starts against the Astros has a 6.60 ERA. I know he's taken a leap this year. He's been much better, but the Astros are a really tricky matchup for Cease. They have the second lowest strikeout rate in baseball this year. They're great at putting the ball in play, and the White Sox defense is absolutely atrocious. They're a joke of a defensive baseball team. So I like the Astros. Also top 10 in walk rate. Cease has, I mean, listen, if that nasty slider isn't cooking, he's going to start walking guys. He's going to get himself into trouble. And like you said, he's going to go to that shaky White Sox bullpen earlier than expected. I just think the Astros are the better team. I haven't been able to trust the White Sox all year. Give me the Astros as short road favorites. I think they get the job done. But that being said, I am alone tonight because the community has spoken. They take the White Sox plus 110 to pull the home upset, make it 2 in a row over the 1 seed in the AL, Houston Astros. So White Sox plus 110 it is. I'm going up against the community here. Bring on the masses. I'm up against Ben with the Padres. Listen, I'm on an island. I wish I could go back to my island, but
there you go. Everything comes back to your friend.
Yeah, but great show. Ton of actual info in there. Some best bets for you. Ton of WNBA stuff for you. If you like this sort of content, though, make sure you just go like and subscribe us below. Daily Betslip every day. I think we're going to start doing 5 o'clock every day now as we get ready for football. But I'm back tomorrow. Ben is not. I'm with Ian McMillan. So until then, hopefully for me, the Padres win and the Astros win. But for everyone else, the White Sox and Marlins win. And we'll see you tomorrow.